Hello, I'm here with the Pioneer Banned and Restricted announcement. If you don't know, Wizards has the new format Pioneer, and they decided that every Monday they are going to release a Banned and Restricted announcement for it. It started off with no bans except for the five fetch lands from Khans of Tarkir. Everything else from Return to Ravnica to today that was printed in a standard set was legal. Now, November 4th, they have decided to release their first bannings. I was kind of hoping nothing would get banned because I thought the format was still a lot of fun. Everyone was exploring. Um, you know, there were a lot of cool decks, and I think there's going to be a lot of cool decks that come up that people haven't thought of yet. But they have figured out that there were too many of a certain kind of deck, and they took steps to stop it. So they have banned Felidar Guardian, which I've played with on this channel. You can see. Felidar Guardian is used with Saheeli Rai to make infinite copies of the Guardian and attack for lethal. They could have banned the Planeswalker instead of the cat, I think. But they decided to keep the Planeswalker. Maybe they think there's some better value decks with Saheeli out there. I don't know. I would have been interested to keep the cat alive and ban Saheeli. Because I think there are some things you could do with Felidar Guardian. And make a Planeswalker deck or a Demonic Pact deck would be pretty cool. But nevertheless, they decided Felidar Guardian is too powerful. They didn't want the infinite combo that's a lot like Splinter Twin, banned in Modern, in their Pioneer format. So they took it away. R.I.P. Felidar Guardian. I hardly knew ye. I barely got to play with you, and I didn't get to try out the sweet Demonic Pact Felidar Guardian deck, and that is a regret. But let's get to the next one. Leyline of Abundance. I was kind of surprised that this card was banned because I hadn't seen a ton of it. But this is the one I actually kind of agree with. Not actually kind of agree with. I think this is a fine ban. I was kind of hoping they would let it shake out a little longer, but I understand. They said that there were some big paper tournaments coming up in the Star City game circuit, so they wanted to start moving on the ban list a little earlier. Anyway, the Line of Abundance basically turns all your little mana elves that tap for one, lets them tap for two. And the problem with this is that it's essentially a free card, because you can play it from your opening hand without paying the mana cost. If you do that, it's awesome, right? It's like you're pumping up all of your little elves to do a lot more damage, or not damage, but a lot more mana. And the thing is, though, with this ability, even if you don't play it on turn 1, you could play it on turn 3 easily, and then turn 4 untap with like 6 or 7 mana, which is pretty gross to play against. And they're saying it gives you 2 devotion for Nithkos, which is a land that cares about the little mana symbols on the card. And that's true too. You're getting free devotion. So this card is kind of broken. I knew it was broken. I bought like 8 of these as soon as M20 came out because it's just busted. You're giving certain decks, access to like 5 mana on turn 2. Does that sound right? 4 mana on turn 2. I mean, disgusting. And then the last one was very surprising. They banned Oath of Nissa. Oath of Nissa is kind of like a ponder. ish a little bit. You look at the top 3 cards of your library, you put a creature, land, or planeswalker into your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your library. The next part is the part they had a problem with. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast planeswalker spells. They said that that was the part that was the problem. And let's read a little bit. There are 2 decks that are head and shoulders above the rest, 4-color Copycat and Green Devotion Ramp. These 2 decks have earned the most 5-0 finishes in Magic Online and have problematically high win rates against the field. Well, okay, that's the reasoning. I understand it. I wish they would have kept the Felidar Guardian a little longer, because I think people would have been able to beat it. But and then kill it if it became a problem later. But what you're going to do? Here's Leyline. They talk that Leyline enables 2 explosive of a start, but also it provides 2 devotion to Shrine to Nithgos. And then they say Oath of Nissa has been a strong contributor to the strength and consistency of these other strong decks. It's likely that Oath of Nissa would continue to exacerbate problematic strategies going forward. It contributes to the strategies that utilize a large number of 3-mana planeswalkers in a way that can create unhealthy play patterns. So they're saying that if you used Oath of Nissa, you would use Narset, Parter of Veils, and Teferi, the little Teferi, and you would just do this every game. You would just play a bunch of little 3-mana planeswalkers, even though you're a green deck, because you've got Oath of Nissa out. Who cares? You can use any mana to play these guys. And then maybe you top it off with, you could play Saheeli, that's 3 mana. You could play some other planeswalkers. I think the problem with this is that, I don't think Oath of Nissa is going to stop people from playing Narset into Teferi. There's just those cards are just so powerful. I mean, it's basically draw a spell, and if they don't kill this card, draw a spell. And also they can't draw extra cards, which is gross. Narset wouldn't be that gross if it didn't have this top part. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. It's gross. Teferi, each opponent can only cast spells at any time they could cast a sorcery. Alright, so you can't counter anything once they have a Teferi down. And you can play your Wraths at instant speed. You can deal with any threat on the board, and you get to draw a card. It's disgusting. I think what they've done is they've just created too many good cards, and then they're like, oh no, people are playing them together. They're fine on their own if you have 1 really good 3-mana planeswalker, but you can't just be playing all of them. So maybe if we ban Oath of Nissa, people only play 1. And I just don't think that's going to happen. I think people happily find a way to play, these planeswalkers. It might be a little harder. But I think that's part of the problem is they design some of these cards and say, well, it's a little too powerful, but that'll be okay. But then when somebody makes a deck with all the cards that are a little too powerful, then they turn out having just a gross domination control deck, which isn't super fun to play against. Because I think Azorius could have a really good control deck without Teferi and without Narset. They've got the uncounterable Wrath, they've got the big Teferi, and they've got plenty of counters. I think it would be a fine deck even without these guys. So I don't know. That's the banned and restricted list. I think Oath of Nissa died for the sins of the Planeswalkers. But I kind of get it. Maybe it'll reduce their play. Leyline and Openness a little bit died because so many people were playing green. And green was just a really good deck. And then Felidar Guardian got banned, I think, because they were scared to have this infinite combo in the format. I don't know if it had to be banned, but I wish they would have told me what the win percentage was. It said they had the highest win percentage, but they don't say what that was. So, yeah. Overall, I'm still very happy that Wizards is taking the time to make this new format, and that they clearly care about this. They're making a ban list. They're updating it. They're providing their reasons. I can't fault them for making decisions that I wouldn't make. I personally would have waited a week. But maybe that would make people lose interest in the format if they had to play against Green and Felidar Guardian every day. So I can see why they did it. I'm happy that they're involved and that they're committed to making the format a better place. And I'm excited to play. So I can't wait to get out there and sling some more Pioneer. Bye-bye.